Morning Becky. First one in there. Good morning. Just pop a note in. At least we know everything is working. All good. Right then, let's get going. It should be the last one for the hand today, and then we're back round to the foot for the fourth time, I think. This next time round the body is going to be my last one. I've been doing it for 4 years now, and there is just so much footage now. I'm going to do one more trip around the body, and then I think I'm going to hang up my NeuroAnatomy hat. So it will probably take just over a year to get around the body, and I think 5 years is long enough. So got one more year to go, and then I think that'll be it. I'll just have a coffee on the Monday morning instead of teaching. So that's the plan. What we'll do is we'll start off with the foot again after we finish the hand, and then we'll work our way up through everything like we have done for the last four cycles, or 3 cycles. And if there's any specific topics that you want to cover, so we've had some topics in the past where we did like 6 weeks on the lymphatic system, so that released a load of lymphatic system videos, and then I did like nearly 2 months worth on the cranial nerves, and so I went into quite some detail with the cranial nerves. So if there's any like specific topics like that I haven't covered already, I'm more than happy to put some stuff together and go over those on the last time around. I was thinking that how long can I carry on doing this for? I wasn't grey before. I've got grey in my beard now. I'm like, wow. Do you know what, Caroline? I was thinking that. So Caroline's just said we could just have an online coffee chat instead of this. What I was thinking of doing is, rather than anatomy, doing like a case study pathology type session, that kind of thing, because I think I've done well after this next time round. That I think the anatomy's done. Maybe more sort of kind of clinical stuff. That would definitely be, and a bit more kind of ad hoc as well. So some topics, and then we'll work through the topics, and they'll be different every week. Do something like that, I think. So there we go. That's the plan. I did start to integrate some pathology stuff, but obviously this is anatomy really, so I wanted to focus on that. So that's the plan going forward. But we've got another year. Okay, another year to plan it. Right. Let's get going with this then. Just make sure we've got the right video. Here we are. So we finished off all the muscles of the hand last week, so we're just going to do a review of those, and then we're going to move on to the NeuroAnatomy. So this is our hand review, hand overview. Let's get rid of, where's that gone? There we go, get rid of that as well. Okay, so this is the hand with everything in place. Obviously previously we've done the dissection, or we've had a look at the dissections where everything has been like specifically honed into certain sections. So this is the whole thing. Yeah, Penny. I was just saying that we at the hand we finished this cycle, so this is the third cycle of the whole body, and I've been doing it since lockdown. So yeah, God, it's nearly 5 years, and what are we on? Episode 211 today. So I think that this next time round the body, when we start on the foot, this will be our the last time round for the live sessions anyway. And yeah, and we're going to change it slightly to more of a pathology session rather than an anatomy one. So that's what we're up to. Hi Rahul, hi Mo, good morning. So yes, here we are with a whole intact hand, and obviously looking at the extensor region first of all, so the dorsum of the hand, and we've got the extensor digitoris. This is just a bit of a recap if you've just joined us. So extensor digitorum to the digits, but then two of the digits had other muscles specifically going to them as well. So we've got extensor indices going to the index finger, and there'll be a digiti minimi in a sec going to the little finger. So this is just a bit of an overview of everything we've covered over the last few weeks. So extensor digiti minimi, and I think, just pause that there. The nice thing with this is hopefully now, I mean, that the hand is really complex, as you've probably gathered over the last few weeks. But watching this review video now, you'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that. Whereas previously, if you've not really covered the hand anatomy before, it would have just blown your head off. So hopefully by doing this review, it will make you think, oh yeah, I have learnt some things, which is good. We've got the interossei muscles. So there were palmar and dorsal interossei muscles. And then we had extensor pollicis longus, extensor pollicis brevis, abductor pollicis longus. So remember, longus brevis, longus brevis. And then palmar aponeurosis here, so we peel that away, and now we've got the flexor region, so flexor superficialis, and then the flexor profundus, and those will go into the digits as well. The lumbrical muscles, and then we've got the muscles of the thumb, so flexor pollicis brevis, abductor, so abducting the thumb, opposition, opponens. Again, just a bit of a recap, and then adductor digiti minimi, abductor digiti minimi, opponens digiti minimi, so bringing that little finger across to meet the thumb. Adductor pollicis, so bringing the thumb across. Interossei in the palm. Yeah, so these are all the muscles that we've been doing over the last few weeks. So it's just a bit of a recap of everything. Yeah, okay. Cool. So let's have a look at the next bit. We're going into some neuroanatomy. So we have, I can't remember when I started it, but a few months ago we did the neck, and we were looking at the nerve roots in the neck. Then we moved down into the shoulder, and then we put together the brachial plexus, which we did over a couple of weeks. And obviously, but when we then looked at the elbow, we looked at the extension of those nerves, but we haven't quite got to the end yet because we haven't covered the hand. So we're going to have a look at where these nerves terminate. So if you want to have a look at where they start from, have a look back over some of the previous videos, and what you can do if you just want to have a look at the nerves, you can go brachial plexus, then the nerves of the shoulder, then the nerves of the elbow, and then this one, the nerves of the hand, and then you've got all of the nerves videos all in a row, and each video is around about 40 minutes long, so you're looking at pretty much 5 hours really of detailed anatomy from the neck all the way down to your fingertips. Okay, so you'll have that bank of videos to watch if you need to revise for exams or just doing it for fun. So this is what we were looking at with the brachial plexus. So we had, and again, if this doesn't make sense, it's because you need to watch the brachial plexus video. So I am going to briefly go over this just as a bit of a recap. But if it bamboozles you completely, then please look at those videos. So we got C5 down to T1. So these are your nerve roots. Then we had trunks formed from the roots. Then they split into divisions where different trunks go into different sections, which then join up with the chords, which is this next bit. And then the chords are positioned in different parts of the round by the shoulder, and as the nerves start to emerge from the neck region. And we've got a lateral cord, a posterior cord, and then a medial cord. And the location of those will give you an idea as to what nerves come off of them and which direction those nerves go. Okay, so the lateral cord is a musculocutaneous nerve branch, that's what it ends up as, and part of the median nerve as well. Okay, and then the medial cord forms the ulnar and the other half of the median. All right, so and then as we work our way down the hand, that will start to make a bit more sense, because when you're in the anatomical position, your little finger is on the medial side, is closest to the midline of the body. So the ulnar nerve comes up to this area here. The median nerve is a bit of both, bit of lateral, bit of medial, and then that supplies this part of the hand. Okay, so where the chords are and where they start gives you a good indication of where they end up on their pathway down. Okay, there are some exceptions to that, but pretty much that's true. And then we've got a posterior cord. So obviously around the back, so we're looking at the posterior musculature innervation, so the switching on of muscles. And the posterior cord forms eventually the axillary nerve and the radial nerve. Okay, and again, we've covered this in the shoulder, we've covered it in the elbow. Time to go down to the hand now. All right, so do that. Let me just lock that in place. That doesn't move. There we go. Yeah, so that's your neuroanatomy so far. So that's what we've covered already. There we go. This is a really great image. I can't for the life of me remember where I got it from, but it shows the whole pathway of everything, and then all of the muscles that they innervate on their way down as well. So that's a really cool image. There is a group on Facebook. I think it's called the Human Anatomy Group, and people just post pictures in there of anatomy all the time, and which is really good. At the moment, I think it's been infiltrated by some kind of trolls, because there's been some rather inappropriate material on there. But on the whole, it's really, you get some good images like this. Okay, so yeah, it is pretty good. So you can see the whole network there, brachial plexus, and then the direction in which the final branches go. Okay, so there's your medial cord coming off there. There's the ulnar, all the way down the medial side, and then ending up in the little finger. Yeah, so you can see that pathway down, and it kind of makes sense then. Right, so before we get into the kind of pathway of things and the anatomy of direction of stuff and where they end up, just wanted to talk a little bit about what the nervous system does. I've done this a few times, often do it when we get to the nerve section, so apologies if you've heard it before, but sometimes it's useful to hear it again. So there are things called dermatomes, which are the sensory part of the nerves, and there's specific nerves that supply the skin, and they're called cutaneous nerves. And you've got branches of cutaneous nerves that come off and supply certain areas, but then there are sometimes collections of those that form a whole region. So the dermatome, I've got a, yeah, there we go. Phew, I had the, I I was going to say I'm going to have to think of the exact definition, but I've already written it down, so that's good. So this is an area of skin innervated by a single spinal cord level. So there are certain areas, and we'll have a look at them in a second, where a cord level corresponds to a region of skin. Okay, so if someone's lost sensation in the skin, that there are some crossovers, don't get me wrong, but there are some specific points that you can test as well. But those areas of skin, if they lose sensation, then you go, there might be something wrong with their neck. So although they're complaining of a hand or an arm sensation weirdness, we actually need to examine their neck and see if there's anything going on there. So that's what a dermatome is. But as you saw on the map that we just had a look at, there's crossover. Yeah, so C5 or C6, whatever, will contribute to certain other parts of the terminal branches. Okay, so that's why dermatome skin coverage is quite a large area usually. Okay, whereas a cutaneous nerve is a branch off of the terminal branches. So for example, the median nerve will have some cutaneous branches coming off of the median nerve specifically that only supply certain patches of skin, but not a whole dermatome. So it's those cutaneous nerves collectively that make up a dermatome. Hopefully that makes sense. I have done a whole session on this, so it's like an hour's worth in 1 minute there. So this is your C7 nerve root, and that specifically supplies that region there. Okay, so the middle finger. So if someone's got a weird sensation in the middle finger, they've lost sensation there may be an issue with the nerve root at that particular level, just as an example. Okay, when we look at, just move out of the way, when we look at median ulnar radial nerve, these coloured areas here are the patches of skin that those nerves specifically supply. So if you have an odd sensation to the median, an odd sensation to the thumb, the index finger, the middle finger, and part of the ring finger, that area there is supplied purely by the median nerve. So if there's a weird sensation there, then it will be a median nerve issue. Okay, but it will there'll be specific areas that correspond to dermatomal patterns as well from a nerve root. But if you remember back to the map, the median nerve is from C5 to T1, so there's contributions from all of those spinal levels. If there's a C5, or for example, the C7 issue with the middle finger, that's just a patch of skin that C7 specifically supplies. Then there will be a contribution from C7 to the median nerve, but it may not knock out that whole region because it's spread out over lots of nerve roots, if that makes sense. But that specific level will supply the middle finger. And if we have a look here, we've got these spots on the body. These are from some American association of neurological testing. I can't remember the exact name of it, but I've done it in a couple of videos before. But there are specific spots on the body where nothing else contributes to that particular region. So this is a testing site for the median nerve, so the end of the finger, the index finger. And then a specific site for the ulnar nerve is the tip of the little finger. So nothing else will supply that apart from the ulnar nerve. Nothing else apart from the median nerve. So when you do neurological testing, you can test specifically those areas, and then you will know whether it's a median or ulnar nerve issue. Okay. So we're going to dive into those in a second. So median nerve is this one. Okay, so that's from the image before. I've just taken some of the other things off. Contribution from the lateral and medial chords of the brachial plexus. And then if we have a look here with the arm is in anatomical position, and the median nerve will travel down the inside of the humerus, which is very similar to the ulna. But then what it does is it takes a jump to the middle part of the arm. Okay, so middle part of the forearm, just here. And there, if you go back over the elbow, then this section here, there is a muscle there called pronator teres. And pronator teres has got two heads, and the medial nerve will pass through those two heads. Okay, so it like right in there, on its way down to the carpal tunnel. Yeah, so that's the journey of your median nerve, and then it will come down here into the carpal tunnel. It will then branch off, and it will supply the thumb, index finger, middle finger, and then half of the ring finger with sensation. And it will also innervate certain muscles in the hand as well. Okay, so if you have carpal tunnel issues, so a compression of the median nerve as it passes through the tunnel, it will give you weird sensations in that part of your hand. Okay, so when we're looking at doing testing, so someone comes in and says, I've got pins and needles in my hand, you want to ask which fingers, because then that will guide you as to potentially where the issue is, or if it's a whole hand problem. And if it's a whole hand problem, then you've either knocked out both median and ulnar, so you've been really unlucky, or it's a blood supply issue. And we'll have a look at that, hopefully, if we get time today. We'll see how we go with the timing. So the carpal tunnel, on the bottom of the tunnel is made up of the carpal rose. The top of the tunnel is made up of this flexor retinacular, which they've labelled as a ligament here. Okay, I guess you could call it a ligament. It goes from bone to bone. And then underneath there is where your median nerve will go. However, there are about 12, I think, something like that, 10 or 12 variations of the median nerve, okay, and anatomical variations. Sometimes the median nerve won't just be one nerve, it will be two, and it will split, and one will go over the retinacular, one will go under. Sometimes they both go over, sometimes one goes over, sometimes it goes under. So there's loads of different variations, and that's why clinical evaluation is so difficult to do, especially without imaging. I mean, if you scan this area, then you'll be able to see it. You'll be able to see the nerves. But if you don't have access to that, then they could have an anatomical variation, and you just don't know. So things that pass through the tunnel is all the things that we've been looking at over the last few weeks. So in the flexor muscles, so the flexor superficialis, flexor profundus, digitorum profundus, and then as well as your median nerve. Okay. I think this is the picture, if anyone wants to say it. Oh, you popped a thing in the group. Thank you, David. So narrowing of this space will give rise to carpal tunnel syndrome. So that can be because of swelling. Okay, so there may be edema around this area here, which then compresses that region and will irritate the nerve. That's usually what will happen. Okay, yep, there we go. So it can be repetitive tissue stress. The median nerve sits here in the carpal tunnel, so you can see the carpal rose just here. And then you've got your flexor digitorum profundus, flexor digitorum superficialis, and then the median nerve sits on the top of that, top of those muscles. So if there's any kind of irritation to the finger flexors, and they've become inflamed, then that inflammation can travel down the tendon sheaths of these muscles, and then can close that space. And because of the roof is connective tissue, like really solid as well, that there's no elasticity to it, so it just gets swollen and compresses whatever's in there, and will give you odd sensations in those fingers. So we've got what's called a compressive neuropathy of the median nerve. So that is why when we do like Phelan's test, where you do that and you hold that position, you're compressing the nerve. You're trying to reproduce the symptoms, the way that you get the symptoms. And so if you do that and you hold it there for a minute, and then it reproduces the symptoms, then they may have compression at that carpal tunnel, which would need investigation. Okay, so again, knowing the anatomy will help you understand the clinical test. Okay, so that's that. Yeah, so that, again, this is just the area where it'll get knocked out if you have a median nerve compression. Right, let's have a look at the median nerve. Let's get rid of those. Bring the nerves in. Here we go. Okay, so this should be median nerve. Yep. Okay, so let's just pause that there. So this is kind of where we were at the elbow. So we've done the brachial plexus at this point. Come down the arm, and remember the median nerve was coming down the medial aspect of the humerus, and then I said it kind of jumped across and then through pronator teres. So that structure there, that's your brachial artery, and then that one there, that's your median nerve. Just a little plug, if you want to come and see this kind of stuff, I've got a session in London where you can join me in the labs and you can have a look at these for real. It's in July, and then I've got one in Glasgow in October. So you're welcome to join us there if you want to have a look at it for real. It's up to you. There's flexor carpi radialis, and then you can see, so in between the two pronator heads, as I said, and then there it goes. Okay, so between the heads of flexor digitorum superficialis and profundus, and then it goes, yeah, so there's your digitorum superficialis and profundus. So it follows that pathway down, and there it is there, popping out there. So there's loads of structures there. There's palmaris longus, and here we go. So this is it going towards the flexor retinacular, and then the branches of nerves that are coming off of the median nerve to supply that bit of the hand. So the motor branch supplies the muscles, and the sensory branch supplies the skin. Okay, so we've got common digital nerves that come off of that to go up into the fingers. There we go. And yeah, remember loaf for in a second. Okay, this will be important in a second. So the muscles supplied by the median nerve, we've got some forearm muscles, so flexor digitorum superficialis, flexor pellucis, half of your digitorum profundus, and then down into the hand, which is what we're interested in. Here we go. These are your loaf muscles there. So I'll just pause that there. So if you have a problem with the median nerve, as well as the loss of sensation, if there's a compression of it, it can also disrupt the signals going to the muscles. So therefore the muscles don't work, or they're very they find it difficult to engage, and they will start to atrophy. So if you notice that these muscles around the thumb are starting to waste away, and you compare it to the other side, and this side's nice and fleshy and there's nothing on this side, they will probably have a problem with their median nerve. Okay, so the loaf is your lumbricals, opponens pellucis, so the opposition for your thumb, flexor pellucis brevis, so the short thumb flexor, and then abductor pellucis brevis. Okay, so taken out to the side of your thumb, short. Okay, so all of those muscles that form that thenar eminence, which we looked at last time, those are supplied by the median nerve. So if you have atrophy here, then there may be a median nerve compression at some point. There you go. Cool. Okay, so that's your median. Let's have a look at ulnar. So ulnar's C8 and T1. So that's where that comes from. So that's the lower part of the neck. And so I was just looking at the time, see where we're at. We're good. So the lower part of the neck, and if you remember, it went down the medial cord, so the kind of inside of the arm. Yeah, the median nerve did the same, but the ulnar nerve doesn't zip across and then go down the middle of the forearm. It stays on the ulnar side, so down towards that little finger, so all that medial side. Okay, let's have a look at this one. So this is the picture from previous, but just zoomed into the ulnar nerve, and there we go. So the medial cord coming off of that, and then this is then the ulnar traveling down. So very, very similar to that median nerve in between your bicep and tricep, along the humerus, and then there's a little groove around here, so the ulnar groove, and there's a ligament there that covers that groove. It's called Osborne's ligament, and sometimes that can rupture and you can have a flicking of the ulnar nerve at the elbow. Okay, so it'll come out of its groove. As you extend, it pops out. So you can palpate that, okay, really easily. So if someone's getting weird sensations into their little finger, it can be coming from here. It can also be coming from the hand, and we'll have a look at that. So to find that point, we did this in the elbow. You find your elbow point, and then you find your medial epicondyle, and you put a thumb on medial epicondyle, middle finger on your elbow, and then the finger, the index finger, goes in between. There's a little groove there, and that's where your ulnar nerve is. Okay, so it's just in there. And if you hit that, that's hitting your funny bone. All right, so that's why it makes your hand feel weird, and it affects those two fingers. Okay, so here we are. Here's the pathway. So there's the ulnar nerve as it passes around the medial epicondyle of the humerus. It will come down the medial aspect of the forearm, so following the ulnar bone, and then it doesn't go underneath the tunnel. It goes over the top of the carpal tunnel. So this is why this isn't a problem with carpal tunnel, and why median nerve is. And I think I've mentioned that a few times. So median will go under the tunnel, and if there's swelling, it will get compressed. But that swelling underneath the tunnel will not affect your ulnar nerve, okay, because it goes over the top. What it does do, though, is it goes through a little slip in the retinacula called Guyon's canal, and it will go underneath the hook of the hamate. So that there's the pisiform bone, so that knobbly bit just there, and then just up from that, so towards the little finger, there's a little hook on the hamate bone, and that hook forms a roof for the ulnar nerve to pass underneath. And that bit there can be a problem. Again, I've mentioned this a few times with cyclists, motorcyclists or bicycles. So if you're holding on to handlebars and compressing that point there, it can make your little finger and ring finger go numb. So if you're getting cyclists coming in and saying that their fingers are going numb, you track from the neck. So is it C8T1? Is there a problem with the ulnar groove, or is it down here where it's getting compressed in the hand? Those are the usual points to check if they're getting symptoms here. Okay, so yeah, we're getting a supply down into the little finger, and then this half of the ring finger. The rest of it is supplied by the median nerve. Okay, cool. So this is the sensory distribution of the ulnar. So that there, and then the back of the hand as well. Okay, so again, if they're getting that odd sensation, then that'll be why. So let's have a look, or very likely to be the reason why. So this is the ulnar. Let's get going. Here we go. So we got medial epicondyle. There's the nerve just there. So we're looking at the inside of the elbow. Yeah, this is a right elbow on the screen. So there's the medial epicondyle, and there it is there going around the groove. There's the olecranon. Yeah. So if you feel medial epicondyle, middle finger on the olecranon, and then in between, that's where your ulnar nerve is. So that's that point just there. You can see it's really superficial, and it looks as if a bit of the connective tissue has been taken off this. But yeah, obviously you've got other structures to try and keep it in that groove, but it's mainly that Osborne's ligament. And if there's a rupture of that ligament, then this will pop out of the groove. Okay, and they'll feel it because it will slip. And you can palpate it as well. So it's again something to check if someone's getting symptoms into those fingers. So between your flexor carpi ulnaris, there's the pathway of it just there. Flexor digitorum superficialis. So we're looking at the medial aspect again, all the way down the ulnar. Keep on going there. So we've got split into a dorsal and a palmar branch over the carpal tunnel, and then here we go here up into the little finger and the ring finger, half of the ring finger as well. So superficial branch coming up this way. So we've got two nerves going into the little finger, one into the ring finger, because the other one in the ring finger is supplied by the median, and there's the deep branch. So we've got those two branches because remember the median nerve supplied loaf, yeah? So the lumbricals, opponens, abductor and flexor pellucis. And if you so if you have a problem here, then that's median. Everything else in the hand is ulnar. Okay, so everything else in the hand is on there. So all the muscles we've looked at, all those intrinsic muscles we were looking at before, that apart from the ones in loaf, they're all supplied by the ulnar nerve. There you go, and you can see that deep branch there going into the intrinsic interossei. There they go there, look. Okay, so we've got this deep branch going into the hand, and then obviously we've got a cutaneous branch for the skin, which we've talked about already. So muscles supplied by the ulnar. We've got flexor digitorum profundus, and then in the hand, the hypothena muscles. So all those opposite ones that we were looking at last time, all the interossei muscles, adductor pellucis. So that was your key grip one. And then there's some lumbricals as well on the back side. Cool. So that was your ulnar. Perfect. We've got one more to go. So radial nerve this time. So radial nerve. We've got ulnar on this side, median on this side. The radial doesn't supply any muscles in the hand, but it's skin sensation for the back of the hand, so the dorsum of the hand. It fills in the gap that's left by the median and the ulnar. Okay, so there'll be a patch on the back of the hand which will be radial supplied. Okay, so that's the key bit with the radial. We had a look at the pathway of this up near the humerus, and it's on the posterior cord, so it goes towards the back of the arm around here, and then there is a little groove in the humerus. There's a spiral groove, and the radial nerve will sit in that spiral groove and then make its way round to your extensor muscles. Okay, so it supplies the extensor muscles motor, yeah, and then there's a branch that comes off of that, which is a cutaneous branch, a skin one, that goes down to the back of the hand, and it fills in that gap. Right, so let's have a look at that. There we go. Okay, so there's all the muscles that it supplies. and then it comes down here, and then that's the dermatome just there. So that specific region on the back of the hand. Okay, so let's follow the radial. There's not much actually in the hand for the radial. It's pretty much all median and ulnar. So here's the radial. Here we go. So there it is there. And we've got a, let me just pause that. So that explains everything, yeah? So we've got a deep motor branch that's going to the muscles, so all the extensor muscles, and then a superficial sensory one, which is heading towards the back of the hand. Yeah, so we've got a specific sensory part of the nerve coming off of the radial nerve, and then a deep, so it's diving down into those muscles to turn those muscles on. All right, so that's the two parts. This is around the elbow. Okay, so we've got biceps here. That's the bicep tendon just there. So there it goes. So there's the superficial branch just there. So you've got brachioradialis. And then there it is popping through there. And then you can see it coming all the way down, supplying the skin. So look how superficial that is, because it's supplying the skin for the back of the hand. There you go, just that bit there. Just pause that there. Okay, so that then perfectly fills the gap that is left by the median, which supplies the front part of the hand. Okay, so radial is that bit, median is that bit, and then ulnar is the front and back of those fingers there. Okay, well, half of this one, but little finger especially. Yeah, so it goes front and back of that, and then median is shared here, shared on that one, and then supplies all those. So that area there, and then flip the hand around, you've got ulnar, that bit, and then radial, the rest of it. Yeah. So this is what I mean by if there's a certain section of the hand where there's a problem, then we can work out where it's coming from. So here's your deep motor, sometimes called posterior interosseous nerve as well. So back of the interosseous membrane, basically. And there it goes through supinator. So we've got extensor carpi ulnaris, extensor digitorum, indices and minimi, all supplied by the radial nerve. Abductor pollicis longus, extensor pollicis brevis, extensor pollicis longus. It does, let me just rewind that and show you that one again. So all of these muscles are supplied by the radial nerve. There it is. Extensor carpi ulnaris there, extensor digiti or digitorum, and then thumb as well. Okay. Cool. Love doing the nerves. Probably my favourite bit. Cool. And I think it's the bit that if you're a soft tissue therapist, so if you've studied in the UK and you've done soft tissue therapy, or you've done even sports therapy to a certain degree on a degree program, the muscles, joints, ligaments, tendons, they're all covered in quite a bit of detail, but the nervous system really isn't that well. We do some clinical testing, some nerve testing with some things, but it's often just a cursory look at things rather than a deep dive into it. So I think these sessions are the ones that blow your head off if you've not really studied this area. But the more you do it, the more you keep watching it, the more it sinks in. And when we go around next year, you'll be like, oh, I remember that. For some people, I think this is their third time round. So it is hopefully starting to sink in now. Right, that's it for today. I was hoping to squeeze the blood vessels in, but I'm not going to get that. So we'll do those next week. And so we'll do a bit of a recap on the nerves, do the blood supply for the hand, and then we'll move on to the foot. Okay, so that's the plan for next week. I will see you next Monday, 10 o'clock. See you then.